Hi, everybody. Let's learn a little bit about Excel so that we can use it to help us with the science that we're doing. We're going to be using our rocket challenge as an example. So the first thing I can see is I've got all these empty cells. They are pretty tiny at the moment, so I am going to want to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to click on zoom and I'm going to go to 200%, and that's going to make this a little easier to see. The first thing we need to recognize is that we can adjust any of our rows and columns if we want. Now, columns are the one you're going to want to adjust most of the time. If you go to the top, you can see there's the little arrow that goes both directions, left and right. I can click there, and then I can drag this column to be as big or as small as I want in order to fit the text that I've got. If I find that the text there's not enough space for it, and I actually want the column to automatically adjust and go downwards, there's also this thing called wrapping text, where if I go to home, there's a button up here called wrap text. And if I type a bunch of text and it's too long, it'll go outside of the cell. But if I click wrap text, you'll see it squishes it all into one, which is kind of a nice convenient way to do it. So we can change the width of our cells. You can also do it with the height of your rows, although usually you don't want to do that. Usually you'll just want to use that wrap text function. Okay, we can also know that we can add borders on our cells. That's just to pretty it up, though. That doesn't actually do anything. But if we click on a group of cells, we can click on this little button here at the top that shows our borders, and I could choose all borders if I wanted all the borders to show up nice and dark, and of course I can change their width if I want, and now they show up really well. I can also shade by clicking on some boxes, and there's my little paint bucket here, and I could choose maybe, I don't know, let's do a lovely orange for Westgate, like that. And now I've got some nice colors that I'm working with. So we can kind of organize ourselves that way. Here's a really important thing to know. If you put a number in a cell, say, I don't know, 20.337, you'll notice that it goes to the right side of the cell. If I type in a word, though, to a cell, let's say I type in the word science, you'll notice it stays on the left. This is Excel auto-detecting the things that are in the cell and trying to figure out whether they're text or numbers. Now, there is a way to try and force it to tell it which is which, but for the most part, you just want to let it do its thing. And now here's the catch. If I type in 20.337 and then I put a meters at the end and I click enter, you'll notice it stays on the left. Excel thinks that this is text, and it doesn't think I'm trying to use it as a number. That's why it hasn't moved it over to the right-hand side. It's kind of telling me that. So that's one of the many reasons I put meters at the top in a column. The units go up there. Part of the reason is you don't have to write them every time, but also it's so Excel knows that I'm dealing with a number here and I can do numbered stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start building out my Excel table. For the Great Rocket Challenge, you're going to need to do this as well. So I'm just going to kind of clean things up a little bit here, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks along the way as we go. First, I'll put a title up here. I'll call it SPH3U, the Great Rocket Challenge. Of course, I'll give it a file name that's going to allow me to remember it easily. And now I need to build a data table. So I'm going to say this is my basic bottle data table. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I'm looking at my sheet that I've got, 6 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 rows. So I'll go like this, and I'll just put a little border around those to start off. Now, in this one, I see I have to put bottle 1. And the next one I have to put bottle 2. Now here's a nice little easy feature that can save you some time. If I grab these two together, there's a little green box down in the lower right-hand corner. If I grab that little green box and I pull it down, Excel is going to try and figure out what I want next. If you're putting in like days of the week, months of the year, or just regular numbers, it'll try and figure it out. In this case, it knows I want bottle 3, bottle 4, bottle 5, so it does it for me. I don't have to type them in. Grabbing that little green square can be really effective at filling in the squares below, and Excel will try and figure out what you want. Now I've got to put my height in here. So I've got my height 1, that's my first measurement, and it's in meters. Now you'll notice that it is a little too wide for here, so I'm actually going to stretch these cells out a little bit. in order to make them bigger. And if you want to do all the cells at once, you can actually grab them all and then just change the size of um, a single. Oh, maybe that only works for rows. Anyway, so I'm going to go height 1. If I drag this across, I'm going to see what it puts in. Now, in this case, it puts height 1 again, but this will save me the typing because I can just go in and I can go 2, and I can go 3, and I can go 4. Okay, and then this one is my average, which is the mean, and it's in meters as well. Okay, now let's pretty this up a little bit, make it look nicer. Let's bold this. So I'll use the bold button, and I'll put some nice Westgate orange in these areas so that it looks a little bit better like that. Okay, now I am missing something for my table, right? You might say, hey, Mr. Roy, how do we get these two on here? Well, the boxes are already there. We just might choose to put a border around them like that. And we can say what they are, right? This is average mean is here. That's what's on your sheet. And then below it's rounded for sig digs. Okay. And if I want, I can wrap text to make those fit. Okay. And now I can put in my data, right? My data, because it's manual numbers, I'm going to have to enter it manually. So let's do that, and then I'll show you the cool thing that you can do to do your averages. So I'm just going to put in some random numbers here, right? I'll go like 21.5, and so I'm just going to like come up with a bunch of numbers here and fill out my table, and then I'll show you how we'll do our averages. Okay, so here's my stuff good to go. Now you notice I do have an outlier in there. It's a big one. It's right here, that 216. Now I probably don't want to include that. Like that's a kind of a tricky number, right? That's not one that I'd want to include. So I'm going to put a strike through on there just to, let's try that again. Strike through, just to show that I don't want to include that, but I also want to make sure that my averages don't accidentally include it. Okay, so let's find out now how Excel can do our averages really quick and easy. This is one of the most powerful things about using Excel. I'm going to click in my average box, and rather than having to go in manually on a calculator and type up all my averages, I'm just going to I'm just going to click in this box. And you'll see up here, there's a little button that says FX. Now, you remember from math class, if you've taken your grade 11 math already, which some of you have, many of you haven't, this is the function icon. So I'm going to click Insert Function. I could also just hit an equal sign in there and type the math in myself, but this function one is going to be much easier. So I'm going to click that, and it's going to say, well, what do you want to do? And there's a big list, and top of the list should be average. Now, if average isn't top of the list, you can go here to the search bar, and you can type in average and search for it, and you'll find there's different kinds of averages that come up. I just want the first one called average. So I'm going to say, okay, I want to do the average. Now it's going to try and figure out which cells that I'm trying to do it for. It says from B5 to E5. And in this case, it guessed correct. It was right. It picked all the numbers to the left. If it doesn't pick the right ones, though, I can just grab them manually like this using my mouse and grab those 4, and then it says B5 to E5. And I say, great, let's do the average. I'll click OK, and here's my average. Now you notice the numbers are not rounded off. Now I could do the same here. I could click here, click the function button, click on average. If it doesn't pick the right ones, which this time it didn't, I'm going to grab the cells that I want and go OK, and it does the average for me. But here's a little trick to help you out. Rather than doing that each time, click on the box, grab the little green, in fact, I'm going to get rid of this one. Grab the little green square in the bottom right-hand corner and just drag down. And it's going to insert that average formula into every row. And it just did it for me. Poof, like that. Done. Quick and easy, right? Awesome. I can click on the box just to make sure I have the right ones. This has B6 to E6. Good. This has B7 to E7, B8 to E8, B9 to E9. And it knew which ones to pick, which is awesome. I didn't have to tell it which ones. It did it automatically, but make sure to check. Now you notice this one is 84.25. That's a problem. because that is including the outlier. So we're going to need to fix this one. So I'm just going to delete that one, and I'm going to go back to average. And this time I'm just going to click on the 34. I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard, click on the other 34, continue to hold down Control and click on the 53. And now it's just going to take those 3 boxes, and it's not going to include the outlier, and it's not going to throw my average off like crazy. And I'll go, okay, good, that makes more sense. My outlier is not included, okay? Now I say, okay, I want to get the average of my averages. I can't just drag my formula down because there's nothing there. It doesn't have any data to the left. It doesn't know what to do. It's looking for it, but it can't find it. So here's what we'll actually do. Again, we'll go into our average. I'll say, okay, yeah, I want to do an average. This time I'm going to grab these numbers here. And I'm going to say, okay, let's do the average of them. Big, long number with lots of decimal places. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Before I get to any rounding off, I'll say, okay, I've done the average of my averages, but what if I made a mistake, right? What if I look back at the beginning and I wrote 21.5 and that number was actually 41.5? Oh, I made a mistake. I got to redo the whole thing. And the answer is no, you don't. This is the beauty of Excel. I can click on that box, and instead of 21.5, I can write in 41.5. And when I hit enter, it's going to adjust everything, all my averages. Boom. This average right here was fixed. My overall average was fixed. It's all great. And I can notice a big difference. Let's say I put in 1,000 here. You'll see, oh yeah, it changes all my averages automatically. Oh, I made that mistake again. That was 41.5. Okay, good. So it's nice that you can go back and manipulate your data, and it'll take care of all that for you. Now, random for sig figs, I got to do this one manually, right? I just need to look at my numbers. My first digit is not reliable, so I got to round off to 1 sig fig. So that's going to end up being 40 meters is my rounded average. Okay, so that's how you can make these with Excel. Now, here's the thing. If I want to paste this into something, I can, especially with Word and Excel, because those are also Microsoft products, they cooperate really well. I can just grab all of this. I can right click and I can go copy. Now, when I go into other things, and I can do this in Canva too, I can right click and paste it in. Now I can make a couple decisions. I could right click and paste it in as the Excel document where I can still make changes to it, but modifying, adjusting it may get a little tricky, or I can just paste it in as a picture. So you can't actually modify it and it'll just show up as a picture in your document. Both of those should work fine. Play around with it and see what's going to work for you. Okay, I hope that helps. Now you know how to do data entry with Excel, you know how to use the average function, and you know how to grab that little green box in order to fill down. You also know how to pretty up your graph in order to make everything look the way you want it to look. And now you can use it for all your other stuff. And eventually we'll be able to use this for making a graph to show our different heights, which is the thing I'll show you soon. Bye for now.